Monsters, Inc. tells a story that takes place in the world of monsters. On the other side of the human world, there is a huge city called Monstropolis. All kinds of monsters live there. Some are tall and strong, some are furry, some have many eyes, and some have strange horns. Although they look a little scary, their lives are actually very similar to humans. They go to work, eat, sleep, and also have friends and families. In Monstropolis, there is a very important company called Monsters, Inc. The energy for the entire city comes from this company. The monsters use a very special method to generate electricity. They collect the screams of children when they are scared. When children are frightened, they scream loudly, and these screams can be collected by machines and turned into electricity that the city needs. So, in Monsters, Inc., there are many monsters whose job is to scare children. Every day, their work is to quietly enter a child's room, suddenly appear to give the child a scare, quickly collect the screams, and then immediately return through the door to the monster world. The way to enter the human world is very special. In the company, there is a long corridor filled with doors, with all kinds of doors hanging along it. Each door leads to a child's room. Monsters only need to open a door to enter that child's room. When they finish their task, they return through the door and put it back in the storage. Among these scarers, there is a very famous monster named James P. Sullivan, called Sully by everyone. Sully is a tall, furry monster with blue fur and purple spots, looking very impressive. He is the best scarer in the company and collects many screams every day, always ranking first. Although Sully looks scary on the outside, he is actually gentle and kind. Sully has a best friend named Mike Wazowski. Mike is a small green monster with only one big eye and two thin legs. Although he does not look much like a scarer, he is very clever and talks a lot. He has always been Sully's partner, helping Sully handle all kinds of work tasks. The two of them live in the same apartment, go to work together every day, and chat together. Their relationship is very close. Monsters in Monstropolis are taught from a young age that human children are very dangerous. They believe human children carry many germs, and if monsters touch them, they might get sick. So the company has very strict safety rules. If any human items enter the monster world, like socks, toys, or even a single hair, the company's security personnel will immediately arrive, seal off the area, and perform disinfection. One day, as usual, Sully was working hard at the company. He broke the record again in the company's scream collection contest, collecting even more screams. Just as everyone was getting ready to leave work, his partner, Mike, suddenly remembered that some work documents were left in the door corridor. He hurriedly called Sully back to retrieve them. It was at that moment that Sully noticed something unusual had happened in the company. Sully returned to the door corridor and found that one door had not been collected. By the rules, all doors must be returned to the storage before leaving work to ensure safety. Sully felt very strange, so he opened the door to see what was happening inside. But he did not find anything unusual and closed the door again. Unexpectedly, a human little girl quietly ran out of the door and accidentally entered the monster world. The little girl was only about 2 or 3 years old, wearing pajamas, and did not look afraid at all. When she saw Sully, she did not scream. Instead, she laughed and treated Sully like a big toy. Sully became very nervous. He had been taught since he was young that human children are very dangerous. But now, a real child was right in front of him, running around Monstropolis. He hurriedly wanted to send the little girl back, but the door to her room had already been collected. If the company discovered this, it would definitely cause a big problem. Sully quickly tried to figure out how to hide the little girl. He first took her back to his apartment, planning to return her the next day. When Mike saw the little girl, he was nearly scared faint. He kept saying this was too dangerous. If the company found out, they would both be fired and might even be quarantined. But the situation had already happened, and they could only find a way to deal with it. To avoid being noticed, the little girl was dressed to look like a little monster. Mike found some strange hats and clothes to disguise her. The little girl was very lively and liked Sully very much. She did not speak much, but called Sully Kitty because he looked like a big, furry cat. From then on, Sully also started calling her Boo. The name sounded simple and cute. Gradually, Sully realized that Boo was not dangerous at all. She was just an ordinary child who could laugh and cry. She liked to play with Sully and would hug him tightly. Sully, who was originally a scarer, could not scare her at all. On the contrary, he began to take care of her like a little sister. During this time together, Sully also discovered that the energy produced by a child's crying and laughter was even more than screams. Meanwhile, there was another very skilled scarer in the company named Randall. Randall is a purple lizard-like monster whose body can become invisible like a chameleon. He always wanted to be the best scarer in the company, so he was very jealous of Sully's achievements. Randall noticed that Sully had been acting strangely recently and started observing him secretly. He quickly discovered that Sully seemed to be hiding a secret and guessed Boo's existence. Soon after, Sully accidentally discovered a terrible secret. Randall and one of the company's bosses, Mr. Waternoose, were secretly building a machine. This machine could forcibly extract screams directly from children. This way, they could quickly get a large amount of energy and take control of the company. But this machine was very dangerous because it would harm the children. Sully was shocked when he saw all this. He had always thought his work was just to scare children and collect screams. Even if it was not gentle, it would never hurt them. But now he found out that someone intended to harm these innocent children. Sully immediately made up his mind to protect Boo and stop this dangerous plan. Randall soon discovered Boo's existence. He secretly captured her and took her to the scream extractor, intending to test the machine's power on her. When the situation became very dangerous, Sully and Mike arrived just in time and successfully rescued Boo. However, from that moment on, they were pursued by Randall. They engaged in a thrilling chase in the company's door vault. The vault was filled with thousands of doors moving along tracks, looking like a huge maze. Sully and Randall jumped from door to door, sometimes entering one, sometimes coming out of another, making the scene extremely dangerous. Finally, Sully defeated Randall. They also revealed Mr. Waternoose's plot. The company's management and security personnel quickly arrived and captured Waternoose. After everything was over, Boo was a little sleepy, and Sully could finally take her back to her room. He opened the familiar door and gently placed Boo on the bed. But Boo held on to Sully tightly, as if she did not want him to leave. After a while, she slowly let go. Sully looked at her with reluctance, then quietly walked out the door and returned to the monster world. At that moment, Sully felt very sad. He had come to think of Boo as a friend, but they belonged to two different worlds. For safety, the company staff destroyed that door. Later, the company underwent great changes. After research, they found that children's laughter was more powerful than screams and much safer. So Monsters, Inc. stopped scaring children and instead had monsters tell jokes and perform funny acts to make children laugh happily. Because of his bravery and kindness, Sully became the new head of the company. Mike also continued to work at the company, but this time he became the most popular performer. One day, Mike took Sully to an office. There was a familiar door, the one that led to Boo's room. It turned out that Mike had been collecting the broken door pieces and piecing them back together. When Sully placed the last piece of the door back, the door suddenly lit up again. Sully nervously stood in front of it. He slowly opened the door, and on the other side was Boo's room. Although the audience did not see inside, when Sully heard Boo happily call out, "Kitty," he showed a very warm smile. The story ends here. This story tells us that monsters who look scary can also have kind hearts, and true power sometimes does not come from fear, but from joy and laughter.